Welcome back to Smitty's Learning Room. Today we continue to look at the principles of training, and this video looks at specifically specificity. So if we have a look at the syllabus, we're looking at the focus question, how does training affect performance? And we go down to the part of the syllabus which talks about principles of training. Now this video we're going to look at the principle of training, specificity. We'll also have a look at how specificity can be applied to both aerobic and resistance training programs. So when we have a look at the principles of training, we've got progressive overload, which we looked at in the last video. We've got specificity, which we're going to look at in this video. And then there are 4 other types or principles of training: reversibility, variety, training thresholds, and warm-up, cool-down, which we'll have a look at in some later videos. Now, when we look at specificity, one of the easy ways to think about it is when we're at school and our teachers ask us to set certain goals or something like that, they always say to us, make sure you're specific with your goal. You need to be specific in what you want to achieve. And it's the same concept with the principles of training and having a look at specificity. So in order to improve or get appropriate improvements from our training programs, the training must be specific to the desired goal or outcome. Now there are 3 areas of specificity. We've got muscle specificity, where the appropriate muscle groups are being trained to improve or for performance enhancement. Then we have movement specificity, where certain muscle groups are being trained in movement patterns which mirror those that are performed in competition. And then finally, we have what we call metabolic specificity, which is having a look at the energy systems that are being trained in the proportions in which they contribute to competition. So, for example, a shot put track and field athlete is less likely to spend a lot of time training the aerobic energy system because their sport has a predominant demand for the ATP-PC system. Similar to a marathon runner, they'll spend a lot of time training that aerobic energy system and not as much time as the ATP-PC or the lactic acid system. So the main things to remember about specificity is that we can be specific in the way we train by looking at training specific muscles, specific movements, or specific energy systems. And it's important that our training programs have a range of those specific activities in them so that we can improve performance continually. So now we start having a look at the principles of training and looking at specificity and how can we apply specificity to aerobic training and to resistance training. So this is, remember, the other side of the syllabus we're having a look at here, okay? So we're applying that content that we know about specificity to training and how does it actually improve performance. So if we have a look at aerobic training, and we look at training specific muscle groups or specific movement patterns. And obviously when we look at the metabolic movement, we're looking at the aerobic energy system because it's aerobic training. When we then come over to resistance training, it's a little bit different having a look at specificity. So we look at the different types of resistance training. So if we want to improve our muscular strength, we're looking at 1 to 6 repetitions maximum. If we want to improve our muscular power, it's 1 to 5 repetitions maximum. If we want to improve our muscular endurance, we must look at doing more than 15 reps maximum. And the reason for that is that we want our muscles to endure the use of energy for quite some time, so it must be above 15. And then when we look at muscular hypertrophy, so actually growing the size of our muscles and making them bigger, we've got to be somewhere between 8 to 12 repetitions maximum. So you can see there's quite a difference. Like these power and strength training are lower repetitions, and the endurance and the hypertrophy are higher repetitions. Now we know that when we train for muscular strength and power, we use an increased load at a lower reps, and we know that when we train for muscular endurance, that we use a decreased load but increased reps. So it's really important to understand this concept of setting very specific training programs to meet the needs of particular athletes. So for example, a gymnast is not necessarily going to have a lot of swimming or something like that movement pattern in their swimming program, because it's not specific to the type of movements that they're required to do in a gymnastics performance. Remember that you need to continue to watch the other 4 videos on the principles of training to make sure that you're covering all the syllabus dot points for this area.